Hi, welcome to Crafted Sweetly. I'm Diana. Thanks so much for being here. In this video, I'd like to show you how to create this design. I will show you in this video how to create this, and I do have a link below for all the various supplies that I'm using. So you can just check the description box below, and then don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. So let's get right into the project. For this video, I started off with the image, and I've already cut the strips out, so I'm not going to go through the whole process of printing and cutting out. I have some other videos you can check out for that, but I've already cut out the strips and folded them in half. So once I have a batch of these, and you can do all of them and lay them out if you'd like, but I usually like to do somewhere around 20 or so strips where they're already folded like this and then set aside. So I'll set these aside and get back to them as needed. Now for this project, I wanted to incorporate the art of book folding with this new art of adding photo strips to the book, which if you do book folding, you consider just adding the strips, I guess, not necessarily the art of book folding. But for this project, I wanted to incorporate the two just so you can see that they can play nice together. So I have cut out the strips. I've put those aside. What I will do for this book, I will do a 180 fold first. And because there are multiple steps that need to be done to each page, I'll do probably 5 pages at a time. I think it'll make it easier for the process instead of adding the photo strip to the entire book and then doing the next step. I think it's going to make it a little more difficult. So I will take the book, and then I am using my book folding stand for this to hold the pages back, and then the 180 marker to mark the page. If you've seen some other videos using this, the main tip is making sure the spine is pushed forward so that you have a 90-degree angle here so that the 180 marker catches it right there. If you don't have this at the 180, then you can end up with uneven folds. So I'll push this forward, and I use a tool like this that has a little fine ball point. You don't want anything that's too sharp because you can easily pierce the paper with that. So I will use this to mark a 180 on the book. And for this, I'm using the first one. If you've seen, again, some of the other videos, you can have multiple lines you're using, and obviously you can choose whichever one. I'm just going to use the first one. So once this is butted up against the book, I'm going to press or score against this part of the book, this slat right here. So just score there, and then this folds back right there. Now I use bone folding tool just to make sure that this is folded over nicely. And then I will glue the first photo strip to it. Now what I like to do is I use double-sided tape for this, and I will use because I'm doing 5 pages at a time, I could technically score all 5 pages for the 180 fold and then apply the strip to all 5 pages so that I don't have to keep going back to do this with each one. Now the strip that I cut out is slightly shorter than the whole page, which I did that on purpose. I wanted to leave a little gap at the bottom because I'm going to add an embellishment to the bottom, or you could do it at the top, either place. But I already trimmed the bottom of the strip, so this is already trimmed off, but the top I left on so that I make sure I don't scramble my strips. With this particular pattern, it's easy to scramble them and have no idea which strip goes next. So I will apply another strip to here, just so make sure we have the process. And then one down here. And since the strip is not all the way to the bottom, as I mentioned, here I'm putting the double-sided tape a little higher up. And then this I trim off now because I know I'm not gonna get it mixed up at this point anymore since I'm ready to glue it on. You definitely don't want to do more than 5, maybe 10 pages at a time with this 180 fold and the photo strip together, just because it's going to make it a little more difficult. So once you have the page down, then the photo strip glued down, you can certainly go back and press it one more time to make sure that this is bent down completely. Now, how I'm incorporating a design into this is I have printed out a pattern on using software Wonderfold, and I'm just going to have the word dream embossed on here. So in order to do that, I've printed out, and then if you notice on my pattern, 1 through 27 has no marks. So I'm actually the first 27 pages, I don't have to do anything with them, which means I have to, I'll do 27 of these and then come back to the pattern to actually start marking these and then cutting it. So I'll do the 27 pages and then come back and show you the next step. Now that I've done a few of the pages, as you can see right here, and everything is embossed, so let me show you exactly the steps that I'm taking to create these and what I found works best. So first off, we need to score the 180 line, and I've got the spine forward, this is in place, and I'm using this slot here against this part. So I'm just going to score it right there, and I'm just going to do one page so I show you the step-by-step on it. Fold it over, and I use a bone folder for it. Now what I do next is you can leave this if you want like this, but I found that it's best if I tape it down. But before doing that, what I'd like to do is mark the page. So I'm using the pattern, and this is a pattern that I printed in the Wonderfold, and it has the no marks, which is what I believe I left off in the previous section of the video. And now I've done all these pages right up to here, and these numbers correspond to the numbers on my strips. So I'm on strip number 93 and number 93 on here, so I need to mark 8.8 and 14.3. I'm using the Incra ruler for that, and what I'm marking on here, instead of doing it closer to the edge here, I'm doing it as close to this edge as possible, and the reason is the strip will eventually go on top of it, and then if I put the mark here, I'm not going to be able to see it and where to cut. So I'm going to use, there we go, the pencil, Incra ruler, I go to much as to the edge as possible, and I need to mark 8.8 and 14.3 right there. So I'm pretty close to the edge here, and now the next step is I'm going to glue this down. Now this part will end up getting cut right here, so what I want to do is I don't want to glue the entire strip, but I don't want to glue just the edge. So when I usually apply these strips to the pages, I do just the top and the bottom. In this case, I'm going to do the top and the bottom, as well as right next to these marks, because once I cut this is going to kind of open up. And up to now, I used to use this double-sided tape like this, which has the paper on it, and I would cut it, have a bunch of them, put it down, and then peel the paper as I go, do like 10 pages. One of my viewers, Angela M, thank you so much, big shout out to you, Angela, is she suggested these Tombow little adhesive strips, and what I like about this is that I don't have to keep putting, cutting all those and putting it down. It's just a tad bit more expensive than those, but I think in the long run it will save time. So I'm going to apply a strip here. I'm going to apply, this is where my mark point is, so I'm going to do a strip right inside there. This is my other mark right on the other side, and then at the bottom. So now I'm going to fold this over. Now my 180 became a page basically, so it doesn't have that opening anymore. Now the next step is I'm going to cut this off. Now that it's safe to cut the tip off the page, off the strip, I'm going to set it down. And I'm going to apply the double-sided tape to the same spots. Top, right before the mark, right after the mark, and at the bottom. And the reason I'm doing it here as well will be obvious in 1 second once I cut it. But this is nice, it's perfect for this width. It doesn't extend too far in. Now it is a little wider than my strip, but that's fine. It just holds the pages better. So I'm gonna put this right in here. Make sure this is flush, that way they're all even. Press it down here and here. Now I've applied the strip, which if you've seen my other videos, it's the same process. But with this, I wanted to incorporate the book folding aspect of the art in it, not just adding the strips. So now I'm gonna cut right on the marks, which I did right at the beginning. There's one, and here's one. So I've cut those. This is gonna fall off. This gets tossed, and this I fold back open, and that's gonna give me the raised look for the word. Okay, and that's it. So that's all you need to do is for applying the strip. This particular type of design, meaning, you know, doing the embossed look to it, would not really work with designs that are super intricate, just because the little strips would fall off. You'd actually have to, you know, if you had a little tiny piece of color that's only that thick, that's gonna be hard. It's just gonna fall off, you know, when you're doing it. I mean, you could use a little pinpoint of glue to it, but it can be more complicated. So that's the process to applying the strips to it. And then you just repeat. Now with this, usually you can do, with other designs, you can do 5 to 10 pages at a time. With this, unfortunately, you cannot, because it's harder to maneuver this to make sure that it's folded right, and then applying the glue and applying the strip. So it's just easier to do every single step from or each page from beginning to end, which is a little more time consuming than kind of making an assembly line. So I'll continue doing this for some pages. Maybe I'll do, again, the word that I'm gonna spell out at the top is dream. So I'll check back in after doing the R and the E, just so you see what it looks like. Now this may be a little challenging right here, where there's very little area, like the inside of the E, as far as gluing it, but guess we'll tackle that when I get to it. But I'm glad I didn't pick a design that's super intricate for embossing it out. Now I've completed a few more pages or about halfway done probably, but again, this is how I do assembly line style. I never trim the top until it actually goes on a book, especially with the pattern that's like this. If it's something a little more clear cut, so you know which end is up. The other trick that I've shown in another video, and I didn't do it on this, is before you cut it into strips, just on the full page, draw a light line with a pencil on one end, so that, you know, on the bottom, for example, so that way you know that when you pick it up, even if you've cut this off, you know which end is up. I mean, you might still get them mixed up in this order, but at least you know which end is up. So just a line on the whole sheet, and then you'll have the strips marked appropriately. To the side real quick, and then show you the progress so far. So I'm on the A for the dream, and you can see the strips right there. This one, for example, was the whole strip. There were no cuts on it, and the pattern indicated that. And then what I've done with some of them, especially with the tabs that are really small like this. So let me find, for example, here's a good one. If you have tabs like this, you know, I usually do the tape that I told you I use this kind of tape now, thanks to my viewer Angela. These strips, I have the tape on the front, but because they're so small, it's easy for the tab to fall off. So I did go on the back side, and I've added a little bit of double-sided tape to this. I didn't do it on these long strips because there's enough area for here to hold, but for these short tabs, I did add a little bit of double-sided tape on the back side as well, just to make sure that they don't fall off. Okay, and then once this is completed, Then usually what I do is I stand it on its end and make sure that all the leaves, that nothing's kind of sitting inside of each other, because sometimes they like to, one page goes inside another one like this. So I want to make sure that all of them are separated properly. And there is the design. So you can see where this is embossed. This is sticking out from the background. The one thing with this design, I guess, if I had to change anything, I would probably shift the word a little higher. The way this pattern is back here, it ended up being a big white spot right in the middle. So you slightly lose the E and the A, depending on what angle you're looking at it. That white kind of blends in with the rest of it. So I was debating at one point if I should color the word dream to something else, but I'm just going to leave it. So this is how you can color your background when doing, with the photo strips, and then still doing the book folding design to it. I hope this video was helpful in helping you kind of create another design with the book folding as well as the photo strip book art. If you have any questions, please comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.